HCW YouTube channel, and welcome back to the Indy Spotlight, and welcome back to Alex Connors. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well, but you may have noticed there's another person here. Luke Douglas, how are you doing?
Making my return to the channel now, aren't I?
We needed ratings.
it's a full house. We can talk about how much we dislike a certain general manager as well.
Yeah, I assume that's what we're here for. Are we reviewing the show?
We're not reviewing live for it. It's just the call out movement.
That was what you sold me on. It was just like, we're going to talk about our grievances with Carl.
Yeah, we've got a manifesto to put together. We're going to get a petition signed, and we're going to finally get Carl out.
Exactly. Hashtag Carl out 2024.
That's perfect. But we are as well, unfortunately, we are here to speak Kamikaze Live 40 as well. I don't know if it's unfortunate. It was December 15th at the dojo. And once again, as usual, the dojo was packed out. How do you both feel?
Yeah, I just want to say I love the dojo shows. I feel like the atmosphere in the dojo is so much more electric than some of the... it just has this cult vibe with this big following. It's right in the city centre, so everyone can get there and everyone can enjoy a drink before or after. And I just feel like the atmosphere in there has been electric every time. Whether we've done Pro Live or a main roster show, the dojo is just a really cool, unique venue, and I really love being there.
Yeah, I feel like the shows at the dojo are a bit more like, obviously when you go to like say Kings Norton or Stetchford or the Collingwood Centre, it's all kind of like bright and all kind of like nicely produced. Whereas the shows at the dojo, they just feel a bit more gritty. For the venue it is. If you've ever been, like when you've been to the venue, it's kind of like it's out the way. So it's just like it's under the bridge so it's kind of like it's got that kind of like underground kind of vibe, which is good. I always enjoy those kinds of things because it's in, just it feels a bit more like authentic. It's just like you go into this. Oh, we're going to a wrestling show, and it's like in this kind of like area, which is cool. Which is always a cool feeling.
And it's our stomping ground. We're all used to being there and training there, so everyone's a bit more confident and a bit more ready. They're used to the surroundings and the environment, and it does feel like a proper home base, like an ECW arena of our own.
Yeah, as you said, it's the ease of it as well. It's like probably about 10-15 minute walk from the actual New Street for everyone. It's not like Stetchford, for example, which I like social clubs. But Stetchford, to me, it used to be my closest one, but now I live in Warsaw. It's like flipping getting to Mordor to me. It's flipping, it's a very far thing. But we will kick off the show. So it was supposed to be Edgar against Kieran McQueen, but Kieran was unfortunately injured. So I don't know if you know about this, Luke, but there's a certain person who re-debuted on this show, which I'm not allowed to say his actual name because he's going to sue me.
What? I don't know why he's going to sue you, or is this just like it's all
basically, you're a part of ECCW. That man is on a major losing streak, and he keeps moaning that I mention his losing streak, but he's losing. So he's now known on this channel, but Alex can say it. He's now known as Redacted.
Yeah,
right.
I'm afraid, as far as it goes for Mr. TJ Sky, I'm not sure his losing streak's going to improve at Kamikaze Pro Live for you.
It's not going well for the guy.
Are we allowed to say?
Yeah, you can say it. I feel like your colleagues technically. He can't really sue you because you can probably hit him. Whereas I'm not allowed because he got one of our videos taken down.
Also, that he likes me and you, Luke, and maybe not for everyone else.
I literally say he has really good matches, but the reason he started disliking me is because I went, I had a match he had. I went, it's a typical TJ match. And he stopped it there and was going, what do you mean a typical TJ's match? He was really annoyed. And then he listened to it afterwards and went, a really good match. But he just took the typical side away.
I think we all know a typical TJ match when we see one. But this wasn't one, in my opinion, because TJ, he got a big announcement as returning to Kamikaze. He's not been at Kamikaze in any form for a long, long while. And the crowd wanted to get behind him. It was a big announcement, very exciting, but he didn't play to the crowd. He didn't pander to the crowd, or if he did, it was more to piss them off because he was against a homegrown star, Ed Gradams, who the crowd absolutely love, who's been at Kamikaze for the past couple of years, getting everyone on his side and working really hard. So this big return for TJ actually saw him on the wrong side of the crowd.
Yeah, TJ, I've said his name, Redacted. God damn it. Like, as I said, he can go both ways. He can either be loved by a crowd or hated by a crowd, and this, unfortunately, was fight against Edgar Adams, who's literally rejoiced by the crowd, you could say. So it started off with you kind of them feeling each other out kind of moves, and then Redacted hit a top rope dragon screw, which looked horrific in a good way. Absolutely, like, pulled his knee out. When you're fighting Edgar Adams, the best thing to do is work on the guy's legs, because that's his main bread and butter is the offense, the speed. He then went Redacted went for his usual kind of biggest hits of the spin splash. I don't know what he actually calls that.
6-1-0.
There you go, and he missed it because he does it every match. So eventually someone's going to
He hit the 6-1-0, but
missed the moonsault,
follow up. He missed the line salt that he normally puts.
I feel like I've already gonna anger him now. Then he went into for some reason Edgar couldn't get on the offense at that point. So TJ hit a lot of big strikes. I'm going with his name now. I've already botched this. He hit a big thunder bomb. Edgar then tried to fight back, but his leg gave way. So Redacted had hit a few leg strikes on him. He hit a massive tilt world DDT though, Edgar Adams, followed by like a psycho knee out of nowhere, which I don't think I've seen him hit that before.
No, he some running strikes in his previous offense, but I've never seen him go for that knee, I don't think. The tilt world DDT was a counter, I think, to TJ's face hurty, which is a devastating move, so a really good counter there by Edgar, especially when we realised that Edgar didn't know who he'd be facing. This was a surprise announcement. He was prepared all week for Kieran McQueen, or all month even. So yeah, well done, Edgar, for having the knowledge of TJ's moveset.
And then you might out with this, Alex, because I did a review with a bastard for, I think, Wrestling Hinkley. What's that move that TJ? It's like a reverse DDT into a face buster. Yeah. What's he call it?
Face hurty is what it's called. It's a reverse DDT, and then he picks them up and pushes out the chest, so they flip fully over, and then it's a face buster on the way down. I don't see anybody else do it. It's a really unique and fantastic move, and Edgar managed to turn in midair to catch that into a DDT. Face hurty, really great move from TJ.
Yeah. And then he was able to hit it. Edgar kicked out and he caught him into the ankle lock, which is a vintage Redacted. Get him into the ankle lock. He then broke out the ankle lock, and then it was just all Edgar at that point. He hit a massive Destino, which is a trademark of him now, and then he picked up the win with a frog splash.
Yeah, he really struggled climbing the ropes. TJ managed to try to stop him. He got back up on the ropes, but Edgar forced him back down, hit the frog splash. I really loved the dragon screw off the top as well, because it wasn't just Edgar's legs on the top and TJ on the ground. TJ met him up on the ropes and dragon screwed him from the ropes, which was really devastating. And you're right, working Edgar's legs, combined with the fact that TJ already uses an ankle lock, it was really smart from TJ, but it didn't pay off because Edgar had that heart and soul that maybe TJ didn't expect.
Yeah, I don't think you got to see much of it, did you, Luke? Because you were on next.
Yeah, from what the bits I've seen, it was just like from where Edgar Adams was when I first wrestled him in his first match. To see him now, he's just like his moveset's grown, his confidence has grown. You know, he always had his confidence, but it's more so. The fact that he's like taking a guy like TJ Sky, who, especially on the live shows, is like his experience like around the Midlands and just in wrestling in general. It's just like for Edgar to be wrestling a guy like TJ Sky, it was always going to be an interesting one, because again I feel like they do have similar styles. It's like TJ Sky can fly as well as Edgar, and like you got Speed Demon versus that, and it's kind of like they mesh together really well, I felt.
Yeah, I'm interested to see whether or not TJ will be returning again in the future, if there's any exciting upcoming announcements for Pro Life 41 with TJ. So this is a really exciting move by Kamikaze to bring him back. He's not somebody who trains in the dojo or with the guys, but he is somebody who's all around the Midlands and is really helpful. But it definitely felt like Edgar had Kamikaze's pride on his back. In our hometown, in our home arena, he was representing Cammy against kind of an outsider in TJ. So really interested to see what goes forward.
Yeah, and I said like Redacted is a good person. Like, there's all the jokes on the show, but like if you look for the younger wrestlers, wrestling someone like Redacted is probably best for them as well because he is a very smooth wrestler. And he can work both ways. He can get someone behind you, and he can get the crowd against them. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I rated 3 stars. We all love my ratings, don't we? Anyway, we will move on to a match which you will know a lot about, Mr. Douglas. It was yourself and Will Stevens, first time tag team pairing that I know of. Versus, they haven't got a name. I think Cammy announced them as like the Dream Chasers at one point. But I don't know. When I spoke to Ronnie G, he said that isn't their name. They don't have a name.
But announced as the Dream Chasers on this show by the announcer.
So we'll further notice.
Yep. Well, they just have to accept it now.
Yeah. Ronnie G and Coach Mahan, for those who don't know. Maybe the Dream Chasers, maybe somebody else.
So I will be honest, you won't know this, Luke, because you can discuss about a lot of this match. I was sitting right next to the commentary booth, and they were hating on you. Just for
I mean, it's Carl. What do you expect? You know, he doesn't.
Vindictively.
I know the guy really doesn't have a nice thing to say about me. So which I don't know. I've always been an absolute delight to him. The only reason I started going for tees and super kick is just keep him in check. I have kicked him once, and I will do it again. I'm keeping him in check at the minute. That's all he needs to worry about.
Honestly, we respect you for it, and we're glad you're doing it because somebody has to, and you're doing a great and noble work.
I'm trying my hardest. Thank you very much, Alex.
It would have been a nice Christmas present if you accidentally hit it, though.
Yeah. So, how did you find this match against the Dream Chasers?
Well, the Dream Chasers, they're an interesting combo. When you really boil it down to it, it's just like they're both they've got big personalities. They're very, very, very new in the wrestling, when it comes to matches as well. But I feel like those two joining together was probably the best thing for them because now that they can kind of they've got each other to really work from. Whereas a lot of people when they first come through, they're just they're on their own. They don't have really anyone to watching their back for them. And now that those two have got each other to go with, I feel like that's only going to be beneficial for them. Having said that, I will say they took it. We'll get to it, but they kind of took an easy way out towards the end, I will say.
Yeah,
I think for me, it was very clear that they are still inexperienced, even as a team. I know Ronnie G's had loads of success. I think he's only really lost to Doris at Cammy, but they're not fully in sync. And it's frustrating when you see two people who both have all this potential and are both really good, that they just need to get fully in sync like a team that's known each other for years and years and years. You can tell that they've been recently formed, and we saw it when Hassan put them together before he went on his excursion, that they are, before then, not really a team who knew each other. They've not got years of experience, and they are a little bit clunky on those tag team moves and those transitions. And that's where more experienced people, such as yourself, can take advantage. Also, I felt like Coach Mahan took a battering in this match. It was a Coach Mahan beatdown. Ronnie G, I know experienced teams such as yourselves, you picked on Coach Mahan and you made sure to try and weaken one of them, which is a smart move. But even after it broke down and the tag had been made, he got whooped. He was a lot of bravery, heart and soul from Coach Mahan to not get beat in this match.
Well, in those kinds of situations, you've got to think, well, Ronnie G, he's probably we could have picked apart either of them. The fact is, we do with my little bit of history previously with Coach, he's given me a detention slip. He thinks he's this and that and whatever. He had the crowd massively behind him the whole time. And then because of that, in my head, I was just thinking, well, if we're going to isolate anyone, the coach should be the best paid person from my previous experience. And I think Will has faced the Dream Chase in their original match, so he had that experience as well. And when we put our heads together as Ray was saying, it was like, this is our first time teaming together. You know, what else are we supposed to do? We got to go with the common knowledge that we had like together, and we picked coaches that, and it was the way we were beating Coach down. It was just like the way we'd beat down anyone. Like, you put anyone in front of us, they're going to get the exact same treatment. It has been my track record throughout this here in the live brand. It's just like, you know, when you face me, you'll know you're in a fight. You're not here to do it. This isn't going to be, yes, I can wrestle technically, but you know you're going to be in a fight. And that's what me and Will brought to that. We brought a fight element to it, which is what we...
And Will are not regular tag team partners, and I believe maybe there was some miscommunication here at the end that might not have happened had we had maybe the Bled or a teammate you and we're used to. What happened at the end of this match?
He let him go. That was the simplest thing, and it was just like, you know when you get kicked by me, you know about it. Like, I've knocked people out left, right, and centre with that kick. You know, fair play to Ronnie. He was still around after a couple of them, but you know, he took him a while to get to come around to it. The fact is, it's just like they then couldn't do the job themselves. They had to push me out the ring from behind. You know, they couldn't even punch me in the face on the way out. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. You know, it could have been a lot. I would have respected them more if they punched me in the face on the way out, but they didn't. You know, so it was kind of in my opinion, cheap win.
Yeah, I've got to agree.
And to be fair, you and Will Stevens threw out a few decent tag team moves, like the Razor's Edge into a net break was insane.
Well, you know, sometimes it's just one of those things. It's just like a natural thing that just happens. You know, if I saw what he was going for, and it was just like, well, I can add this to it. You know, I could have easily just like dropped a knee or, you know, kicked him square in the head like on the way down. But no, I thought about it. You know, it's just one of...
It helps that you have similar influences, shades of the Briscoe brothers, shades of Demolition in this tag match. It was really good to see good tag team work. And if anything, that's kind of what threw me off about the Dream Chasers, because it actually did look like you hit more tag team offense than they did. And you were more in sync. So as much as I love the energy and the enthusiasm from the Dream Chasers, really exciting for their future, and they are still new, so we can't blame them. I would love to see a bit more tag team continuity and tag team wrestling, tag team specialism from those two. I think they've done better individually, but they did come away with the win, thanks to you super kicking Will in the head.
I'll take 100% credit for their win. You're welcome, fellas.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with it as well. Will Stevens mentioned him. Tag team wise, this is probably one of his best tag team outings, because recently, when he's been in tag team matches, somehow, even though he's an absolute machine of man, he's been the one that the team has been double teaming and like beaten down. Whereas at this one, it was the opposite way. He actually used his strength, he used his power.
Got to agree. It was a really good showing as for Will compared to his previous outings with other partners. So I've got to ask Luke, I know this was probably some dastardly Carl tactic to throw you off, but did you enjoy the team? Will you be teaming with Will again?
I have a tag team partner. But
a bit more successful there as well, so fair enough.
Have been thrown into makeshift teams a couple of times this year with Cami. Once with the old kind of Sin, MJ Grayson. We've faced Chantel and Brandon Jordan. And then this one, obviously, with the Dream Chasers, it's just like Carl is doing his best to throw me off my game at every opportunity he gets.
Yeah, he takes a team who's established, who've been teaming for loads of shows, and he throws them against two people who've never teamed, never asked to team, who've just been thrown together because he doesn't like them, and he wants to throw them off. And I think you did really well to not let that get to your head. You worked really well together as a unit, and it's just unfortunate that the result didn't come up.
I will give Will Stevens a lot of credit. He was the tag team partner. He was the right tag team partner in that situation for 100%. You know, he's the way we've known. It's not like this was the first time we've teamed together, but we have known each other previously. We know what each other. That's probably where like the tag team chemistry came from, because we have trained together. We have, been we've had contact in a couple of matches before, but like that was our first time really, putting our heads together and going forward as a team. Will it stick? Who knows? But like right now, I'm in the bled, so I don't. That's just my going forward. That's where my focus is.
And rate? How did we rate the match?
All right, 2 and 3 quarters.
Very good. Very good.
Negative 5 star. No.
5 points. Stars.
There's no Boston on this channel. But yeah, it's one in ones. Now that you've mentioned that you're not sure if it's going to happen again, you will probably team with All Stevens again because Carl, that guy.
Carl gets once he sees this, he's gonna throw all sorts at me, next year. So I'm assuming, because that's the way just Carl likes to run his shows. He likes to throw anything and everything at me, and I've proven it time and time again. I'm probably the worst person you want to put in the ring with when they're angry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's get to a nicer area. We had Chantel versus Sonny Nos. This was a match I was really looking forward to. I think I mentioned it on a preview that it's something I was looking kind of them two being in a match together. Did you ever get to check this out?
I did, yeah. I saw this and I absolutely loved this. This was a hard-hitting match. I loved Sonny's fire. Chantel didn't hold back. She was kicking Sonny as hard as she was kicking Will a few months back, and they're very different sizes. I absolutely got hooked on the drama of this match, to be honest. Sonny is one of my favourite additions to the Kamikaze roster, and he threw some hard strikes of his own, and he didn't back down. It was a brilliant match, in my opinion, an absolutely brilliant match. I congratulated both of them when they got back because they just put on an absolutely couldn't tear your eyes away, couldn't look away, car crash, hard-hitting match, which I loved.
Oh, I would say the same. I've faced both of these. Faced Chantel probably more than I've faced anyone on the live roster, and I've faced Sonny at the last one. Both of them, they hit hard. They work even harder when they're in the ring. It takes a lot, like from experience, it takes a lot to put both of them down. And the fact is, they left it all out there. Both wrestlers should be very, very proud of what they did on that show. Yeah.
And I think start of that match, I think Nos angered Chantel a lot from trying to go toe to toe with her stroke wise. Like he tried to hit her, and then he just absolutely got obliterated at the start of the match. He ended up getting thrown outside, and he ended up being on my lap at one point. So I'm just getting absolutely whammed everywhere. So if you're going to try and stroke someone, Chantel Jordan's probably one of the better ones to try and go up against.
I mean, what an experience if you're in the crowd and you've got Sonny Nos sat there in the front row and you get to hear and feel Chantel's kicks because they are solid. They will shake your bones, and it's good for people to know up close and personal how that sounds.
Yeah, normally they're attacking you, Alex, though.
Yeah, we remember me begging Chantel to stop a few times, to be fair, because they're just unnecessary. I've got a home to go to. I've got dinner after this, and she's just caving my chest in.
I've had a few times when Chantel has left massive bruises on my chest from the kicks, from everything. And I remember when she gave me a double stomp one time, I was just like, I felt my soul almost leave my body. Every time she hits you, it connects every single time. There isn't she doesn't pull anything. And it just goes to show the mentality that both Sonny and Chantel, because Sonny, when he hits you, you notice it as well. It's not these shots just don't tickle any of them, which is why these two together in that match they just sync together perfectly. It was just because they're gonna hit you hard, they're gonna go at it, they're not gonna pull anything back. It's just go for them, and it was just a solid match, which is
I'd love to see, and I know Carl never does this because he's bad at his job and he's bad at being a human being, but I'd love to see this escalate into a bigger rivalry. I'd love to see this again down the line. I'd love for it to be not just a one and done because it was so good. It was one of my favourite matches from Kamikaze Pro Live this year that I'd love to see it again as soon as possible, really.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Cole, like a lot, like you don't get often to see matches again. A lot of the time it is just like someone. It's always first time matches. So you might not see this for a while. I'll be honest. I'm sad to say.
How did you rate it?
We're at it 3.25. We didn't. Chantal won, by the way. We didn't mention that. She won with a massive roundhouse kick.
Yeah, there's not a lot to mention in this match because there wasn't anything that was like unique. It was just hard hitting. King's Road, solid style. She wins with a roundhouse. It wasn't her reverse package or anything like that. It was just literally hard hitting. And you can't really say anything because there was nothing unique. You've just got to watch it and feel it.
Yeah, and Sonny Nosh just thrown out his headbutt is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's probably like Chantal's got the strokes, the big kicks, but he's got that head. He's like TK Cooper kind of style of like flipping the rock head. Which probably the best way to put it.
The first headbutt I think he hits in the match, I thought this is the end of the match. Like it looked like they were both KO'd.
It was, yeah. Like with when he hit headbutted me, I thought my jaw go at least 2 inches to the right. I was just like, I'm sure something's out here. So
yeah, match. When this gets released, people just got to go watch it. We can't really repeat it spot for spot because it would just sound like us listing off strikes. But each one of them was so solid. Should we move on?
Yeah, and before we go, Johnny Noss is probably going to be my pick of next year. It's going to break out. Edgar Adams probably will this year, but like Sonny Noss is just incredible. We'll move on to a man that's well, he's just everywhere anyway. We had George Lydon facing JC, and Carl decides not to put the title on anymore. You don't get title matches anymore with George Lydon.
Obviously, if you're one of Carl's favourites, then you don't defend. You've got 2 belts, and you don't defend either of them for multiple shows in a row. You just have non-title matches. That seems fair.
Yeah.
I remember being champion and having to defend every single show. So I'm just saying.
You would. I would. George, take a few weeks off, mate.
And from this match with JC, George has got a lot more confident. I feel like it's got to a point where he's being overconfident, like he loves himself. I like George Lydon. This isn't me going like I really like George Lydon, but like he knows he's really good now.
I actually think that this one thing we mentioned plays into the other because I feel like these non-title matches, as much as Carl's doing it to protect his favourite little boy, I don't think that's what George wants. I think George wants to be facing the best of the best in the main event, and he feels a bit disrespected by these non-title matches. At least that's the vibe I got in this match against JC.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes you're overconfident, like especially in these non-title matches. It's like he doesn't have that pressure. So if he loses, he's not going to lose his championship. So he can kind of like maybe not take it as easy, but like he knows, oh, if I get caught with a quick roll up or whatever, it's like it's not good. Like it's still a win over the champion, which is huge for like his opponent. But at the same time, there's no pressure on him to like lose those championships, which is kind of like when I've always went into those matches, I was just like, I know I was going to defend the title. I know I had to do everything within my power to keep those championships. Fact is, he hasn't got that at the minute. But on the flip side of that, I do like the confidence George is showing because he knows he's that. If he knows he's that good, like why not show off? Why not show out? I like this side of George Lydon. It's a different side.
It reminds me of it happened with man like the Reese as well, where it got to a point where he just didn't really want. He was just fighting matches, and he was really just happy to be confident about it. What happened with the 2.0, where he just basically started beating the crap out of people, man like the Reese.
Yeah.
But JC, this he tried to give what he could get against George. He knocked him out of the ring a few times. George I don't know if he uses it often, but he hit a wonderful Chris Jericho dropkick. The good old springboard dropkick.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does it often, but it's just the first time I've noticed it this time. At that point, he was in complete control. A few cocky covers because he wasn't even hooking the leg, which we know about hooking the leg on this channel. Good old Elliot Jordan experience. Always hook the leg. Front face suplex, he strikes, full on strikes, followed by JC then got involved. He hit a big senton. he hit an air raid crash, which that's a big maneuver. And then George went for a 450, missed. Then they were hitting just random moves, with just like power offenses. I'm sure JC or George hit like an AA. Not like a Death Valley driver, just a full-on AA.
I think JC, yeah.
JC, and then there was cross faces and knees by George at that point, and then he hit like a massive Tiger driver, and normally that's George done, as in like he's hit a Tiger driver, he'll pin him, but I think he didn't like that JC was fighting back, so he picked up JC and hit like a massive Stan Hansen lariat.
Yeah, so a few things to bring up here. First of all, actually, I really want to, I don't know why this is playing on my mind, but I really want to bring up the inexperience of the Dream Chasers all the way back to match number 2, because I forgot, and you've just reminded me that at one point they hit a fantastic move, Coach pins, and Ronnie watches while Luke makes the save, and Ronnie could have just stopped him. Inexperience, he was right there. But that reminded me a bit of some of the inexperience from JC here in this match. You said he knocked him out of the ring. He actually, at one point, drop-kicked George right off the top rope to the floor, which was a real momentum shift. He hit not one, but 2 air raid crashes back-to-back. That was a real good moment here. JC hit the air raid crash. George fired up. JC just hit it again. That is experience. That was really nice. And yeah, the ending, George hit the Tiger driver, and I'm not sure whether he was worried JC was going to kick out, whether JC did kick out, which would be really impressive for JC, or whether, like you say, he was just feeling that extra bit of stank and maliciousness. But yeah, Tiger driver, and then lariated his head off. You can tell that George has been watching All Japan this week, because there was a lot of Kawada kicks, big boots, Masawa.
As well, yeah.
He was going all 4 pillars of heaven all on JC for this match. It was really good to see. And JC hung in there. The air raid crashes, a lot of strong resolve, but he wasn't really there for that last little bit. He didn't have George's extra gear for the final.
Yeah. And that's the thing that develop over time. It's just like when I wrestle JC, I'm always just when I wrestle, especially when I wrestle like the inexperienced guys like that haven't had as much like. I always try, like I always bring that fight mentality to it. You just got to try, bring it out. Like you try your best to like bring it out of them, and that's the level that George was working on with JC. When George was hitting 5th gear, and then that last bit, that was just that extra gear, that 5th gear that put him over the edge, and that's what put JC down. Like it comes with experience, and like this side of George Lydon, like I said, I'm a fan of it. Like bringing the extra, like always bringing that extra bit. He could have pinned him after that Tiger driver. He didn't have to hit that lariat, but he did. That's sometimes like it's a difference between being a champion and not being the champion.
Yeah, championship mentality.
But I worry that we are underselling that JC might have kicked out of it. I feel like that would have been a huge moment for JC. Kick out of that driver.
Never know, because George put him down with that extra little bit.
Yeah, and that was really, he took his head off with that lariat. It was very strong. They really were exchanging combinations really nicely in the middle of this match. You'd see a classic combination from JC with the head ringer and the cross chop, and then you see George with his boot switch, running boots, and it was a really good back and forth pace in the middle, and it did look like JC could hang until that last bit, so I was really impressed with that. I feel like George always had the 5th gear there, though, and there were moments from JC that looked sloppy. His dropkick off the top was fantastic, but he hit a standing dropkick, and I've told him this, that looked absolutely awful, and gave George plenty of breathing room to get back in and kick it up another level.
Yeah, and in essence, like I say, but George is non-title match, but he's still winning the matches. If he was losing them, then we can kind of have an argument, but he's doing incredibly well.
Let's be clear here. I don't think George is asking for this. I don't think George is the issue. Carl is the issue.
Oh, definitely the issue there.
It's always going to be the issue. All right, 2 3/4 though. I did enjoy the match. It was just a lot. At one point, I thought George was just going to murder him. By the end of it, I thought it was just going to happen. It's like you said with yourself versus JC. It might be just the JC mentality that you're worried they may kick out. Because, like, for example, yourself against JC, you super kicked in about 10 times by the end of the match.
Yeah.
And he took them. But we will.
And I will say sometimes that is almost to your detriment as well. I mean, it could have been George hits the Tiger Driver and then goes for the lariat, and then JSP gets it. I've been dude, I've been caught doing that. It's just that maybe that overzealousness, it might bite him. It didn't this time. It works every now and again. It just doesn't work every time, and it could be just like it could only take that one time in a non-title or a title match, and it could switch. But again, solid match, right? Probably one of Jay's performances in the past.
Yeah. But the next may well be one of my favourite matches of the year and one of my favourite matches on the show. What a show, because Chantel Sonny and this next match were two of my favourite matches from the year.
So yeah, we'll go straight into it. So we had Zach Walker. I'm going to bring this reference up straight away. Zach Walker's a very cocky boy. His music played, then it stopped playing, and he decided he went full Vampiro. He said, "I'm not coming out until my music's playing." He's got it in him.
Yeah, fantastic. For a second ever match, what confidence and charisma he carried himself with. Incredible.
Yeah, and he was obviously against a very, very more experienced opponent in man like the Reese, the Kamikaze Pro champion. Not just the live champion, the actual champion of Kamikaze Pro. At the start, you could see, obviously, we go with Zach Walker, but you could see the slight experience at the start because he was trying to outpower man like the Reese. Which well, when your confidence levels are a bit too high, that is, isn't it? Like, and man like the Reese is on that kind of swagger. You start pinching the guy's cheeks at one point, calling him cute. Then man like the Reese kind of took control. We body slams at this point. It was just kind of show off his power at that point. Then I don't know what the line was, but Zach Walker literally said, like, to man, like, "That's not what your mom said."
Now, I was watching on the monitor, so I did not hear the line, but I did hear the audience reaction to the line. It definitely made Zach seem like a bit more of an opponent and a bit more of an adult than a little innocent child.
Yeah. Obviously, man like the Reese kind of took into a fifth gear at that point and beat the living hell out of him for a bit. And then Zach Walker's mom was in the crowd, so man like the Reese asked, "Call me." There's a lot of mom stuff in this. Then Zach kind of hit a massive German suplex. Man like the Reese hit a full way slam. He was just showing off his power at that point. He hit a cutter. Zach Walker then went for another German. He's trying to. I think he was in the well of I need to look like I'm stronger than man like the Reese. He then tried to catch DDT at that point. He hit man like the Reese hit a massive top rope suplex, like absolutely huge. And then I think he just had enough and hit a Tiger Bomb to pick up the win. Tiger Driver. I rate this 2 3/4. I wasn't as in much as you guys were into it. It seems.
Oh wow! I thought I've called out to not bringing his A game, in my opinion, to some pro live shows. I thought this was the best Reese match I've ever seen. I really enjoyed this because there was every opportunity that Zach was going to get ran right through here, and it was going to be 5 minutes, and Zach was going to get demolished. He had so much fire and passion. My favourite moment of this match, Reese has an opening flurry. Zach rolls to the outside. Reese holds the ropes open for him. Zach comes in, he counters, he has a flurry of his own. Reese rolls out, and Zach does the exact same thing, holds the ropes open, beckons him in. I thought Zach showed so much, not just courage or fire, but charisma and confidence. And Reese was up for playing that game. He didn't dismiss him, although he kind of did at the start, but he realised he couldn't. And we had a really serious match, and I thought we were in danger of having a one-sided beatdown, and I'm very glad we didn't.
Yeah. Did you get to see much of it, Luke?
Yeah, I was just sitting. I was sitting downstairs for this one, so I did get to watch a lot of it, and I think the thing that impressed me most, like Alex has said, it was just like Zach's confidence straight away. It's just like, is it what? It's his second. The fact that he's going out there, showing that kind of level of like, I want to say maturity as well. Like in the ring, he was just like he wasn't overthinking things. He just like he took his time when he needed to. Like sometimes when you reach your first or second match, or like you're very early in your career, you just want to get in there and like get things done. It's just like, no, he took his time. Like he didn't overthink anything. It was just like I think at one point he took time and spoke to his family had like a little group huddle. So and it was like when Doris was holding the ropes open for him, he went and did the group huddle. He went back in and did the exact same to Doris, and then bang, straight away. Just like so he's got the nickname The Future. And I think that's for a reason. He's probably going to be the future of like the live division, especially. Like going forward, he is like going to be probably one of the standouts of next year for sure. Yeah, and it could only just be a matter of time before potentially he's holding Tammy Live gold. You never know.
Yeah.
The off between the two as well. It wasn't run of the mill. It wasn't anything basic. I know, like we've all seen Doris's moves, and we could probably call them, but no, there was really unique, innovative stuff here as well. He went for an electric chair. That countered into a wheelbarrow. There was a big tornado DDT out of nowhere. It was just for me a much better match than I thought we were going to have, and that's what made it so exciting. And you genuinely believed Zach was in for a shot, and Doris had to bring his A game, which was amazing.
Yeah, I've wrestled Doris when he's. It's fair to say we've had our differences in Cammy. You know, he's always like he knows when he needs when he brings it. Like he's probably one of the like strongest people. He's one of the strongest wrestlers I've faced. He'll hit you as hard as anyone. And I think like once he's realised what Zach was starting to be all about, he knew he needed to get to that level. Because I think, like you were saying at the start, he was kind of like pinching his cheeks, doing this and that and the other. But like once he knew, right, okay, once he saw what Zach was capable, it was like, okay, and now I need to start like amping it up, and you saw that like coming out of him. So that to me just means like man like Doris then started to respect Zach, which he probably did before. He probably did. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying that kind of like. That level means like he respects what you can do and what you're capable of. So I think that's a huge thing for Zach as well, especially as his second match going up against the Kamikaze Pro champion. You know, it's a massive thing for him, and he should be really, really proud of what he's achieved in his first two. Obviously, Alex, you know as well because you faced him. You know, and both times he's never looked out of place. Never looked out of place in either of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest with Zach Walker as well, look, people are noticing already. He popped up in England.
Yeah, imagine that. He's only had 2 matches for Cammy, and he's already getting these outside bookings because people are already so excited by what they've seen in those 2 matches. And as much as we love and we'll really push all the 2.0 guys, Edgar and Nate, like Sonny and Ronnie, they're all amazing, but they did not take off that fast compared to Zach Walker.
But yeah, we will move on to a match which you'll know more about. Yeah.
All right on that one.
It was 2 3/4. I rated it. I already discussed that, and I shut it down, and you both loved it, and you know that's wrestling, though.
I mentioned Carl, and I just spaced out. So
next matchup, we had a debuting Blake Violet versus this man, Alex Connors. How did it go, Alex?
Well, Blake was a fascinating opponent because we, I think, have a mold, a cookie cutter for a lot of our 2.0 guys. They have this heart, fire, fast-paced. Obviously, me and Luke have had a hand in training them. Luke takes them from their very first steps. Blake was different. He was scrappy. He was a bit weird, a bit masochistic. He enjoyed the pain. He enjoyed it. He was laughing and smiling. He wanted the violence. He didn't pander to the crowd in the same way that most of the 2.0 guys do. He was still a fan favorite, but not in the same way. He was a totally unique, different prospect. I couldn't just hurt him because he just lived off the pain, thrived through the pain. So I had to go for knockout blows instead of pain. And it was a really unique experience and something that we've never seen out of the Kamikaze Dojo 2.0 so far. It was really good to see a debut that was different. As much as Zach has been absolutely amazing in 2 matches, he still does look like the Kamikaze 2.0 prototype. Blake doesn't. He's scrappy, big power, suplexes, living through the pain, a bit of a psycho, as his nickname suggested, and it was really interesting and scary at times. I had to think on my feet when I realised that some of my offense was having no effect.
Yeah, it was a different kind of match because I said a lot of the ones where you've debuted, they are in the similar kind of athletic, fast kind of vein, whereas Blake Violet's just a massive powerhouse kind of wrestler, impervious to pain, it seemed, for certain points, which obviously is not good for you, Alex.
No.
when someone's hitting their own head off the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
I managed
it.
to stop his momentum with a disgusting maneuver. If I don't know if Luke managed to catch this, but I double stomped him to the floor from the apron. I thought if he's impervious to pain, I'm going to have to knock him out, and I thought that might do it. And,
Yeah, I'm done.
yeah, but he still managed to get up after that. But it certainly changed the momentum of the match.
Yeah. We'll throw out once again. Crowd getting involved once again with yourself, Alex. When's it ever going to be a DQ?
When's it going to be a DQ? When's it going to be a DQ? Although in this case, Blake, I don't know whether this was intentional or not, but he got the crowd to hit me, which should be a DQ, Carl. But then he also got the crowd to hit him because he was in loving it and getting him fired up. So at least it was both ways, I suppose.
Yeah, but if you hit yourself with something, it's your own fault. Whereas if you're getting the crowd to hit you, it's a DQ. When's there ever going to be a DQ?
Should be.
As he employ these referees, man.
God damn it, Adam. So yeah, big chops from yourself at that point, and then there was a few Kabashi chops were going on at that point, which I did like. I do like a bit of Kabashi, but there was no effect because
he walked straight through. He walked straight through him. Yeah.
Rolling clotheslines, leaping Gangiri at that point as well that was hit. You hit a last shot, rolling discus, pump kick. just a lot in the gut. He was just kept going. It's like Jason Voorhees, that kind of mentality. You hit a massive DVD as well, I believe.
He hit the Death Valley on me.
And then, because you're a nice clean wrestler, you hit a nice kick to the midsection, followed by a knee lift to pick up the win.
Thank you. Yeah. As much as I was super impressed with your list of moves there, especially the Gomangiri, it doesn't often get called out. I love that. Thank you very much. I hit him with absolutely everything, including a nice, safe inner thigh shot. When, to be fair, he pushed the ref out the way, trying to get hold of me. I was merely trying to back into the ropes, totally legal. He shoves the ref out the way. The ref had just got in the way by his own fault, I assume, not through my means. And while the ref was turned around, a nice, safe, clean gut shot and a V-trigger to the face to pick up the win. It had to be a knockout blow. I'd learned it at that point. Thankfully, I did manage to render him out for at least the count of 3. But a hugely impressive, not just from the pain point of view, which was really different and really impressive, but from the power offense, like I say, the Death Valley driver and stuff. He was really cooking in the second half of that match, and it was very close.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this because it was something different as well. It's like you said with the debuts and stuff. It was something different. Like, I rated 3 stars. I really enjoyed the difference of him, and he can take a beating, which is it's always fun to see.
Yeah, watching him walk through those Kabashi chops was terrifying. Not something you'd ever see from anybody else at Kamikaze, and it's definitely something everyone's going to have to be wary of in the future.
Yeah, and at least you've got him out of the way now, so you're probably not going to fight him for a while.
Yeah, well, I assume Luke will probably be having him soon because that's the way Carl normally works with these debuts.
Yeah, I think with these guys that have come through in the past year and a half, a lot of these 2.0 guys, it's just like Alex was saying, it was just like scrappy underdog baby faces always coming up against, say, it's like me or Alex would probably most likely be their first match. And it's not like every single match it's not like we're going out and like sometimes you can get accused of it, but like you'll go in, maybe take a little bit of like a little bit more, like a little bit easier, but it's just the way I've always done it, because like I'll always try and like, it's not bullying my opponents, but just try and get the best out of them every single time. And like for myself and Alex, it's just like it's also a test for us, because if we go out there against one of these newer guys and like flop, it's like, well, and they beat us or whatever, it's going to go against us, and then it's just going to be like playing to us. So it's always when like Blake Violet, for example, Zach, the guys that have really debuted this year. You know, it's a big test for them, especially against like Alex, who can pull out so many different like submissions, strikes, everything like that. It's you know, now that they've had that kind of experience of like attacks can come from anywhere, which is what I appreciate about you, Alex. It's just like you've got an attack that can come from anywhere, any part of the ring, any part of this and that. Whereas like someone else who might not get that from anywhere else, and it's just like you use the entire ring as a weapon, which is why I enjoyed this match with you and Blake, because it was just like you weren't just thinking, oh well, he's there, I can't do anything. You thought he's rolled to the outside, I'm gonna still go for him. I'm gonna get him with that double stomp, which is great. I love that kind of attitude
as well.
Yeah, if anybody does get a chance to rewatch this back, not that I would ever toot my own horn, but that double stomp is a moment to watch because it is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah,
I always involved.
Like I said, it's just like these 2.0 guys. It's just like putting us against them. They're gonna learn. They're gonna learn, and they're gonna learn quickly. You know?
Yeah, I'm sure he has their best interests at heart. But once again, how many times do we have to prove ourselves before we get back in that title picture? That's what I want to know. But as far as Carl's concerned, for Blake, he's learned a lot. He's had a great debut. Crowd loved him. Really impressive performance. He didn't pick up the win, but don't think that's anything that he can be too ashamed of. Looking forward to see who he has next.
We will move on to the main event of the show with a match that actually had a lot of back history in it.
Let's be clear. Not because Carl's built a successful and interesting story here, but because this match has been announced twice before, and both times there's been a shoulder injury, one to Nate Riley and then one to Sam Hughes, and those two have been just bickering and at each other's throats, waiting to get to this match. It's built naturally. No thanks to Carl.
It's a weird build up as well. It's just like they're trying to instead of like naturally like being competitive athletically or like that kind of one-upsmanship. It's like, well, I had a shoulder injury first. No, now I have a shoulder injury. It's like it's a weird dynamic.
We are the shoulder injuries.
I had a worse injury than you. It's just like I've been out longer. This, that, and the other. It's like, well, you both had the shoulder injuries. You know, let's put them together and see what happens. You know,
two working shoulders together. But yeah, especially I think Sam kind of lured this into a bit of thing because he then started to attack Nate after matches as well. I think he just had enough. Because Sam's in the middle ground. He's a very original, like, kamikaze guy, and I think he gets annoyed by people, especially like Nate, not Ray, goddammit. Freudian slip. But yeah, so this was the main event of the show. It was very much a even contest. There was nothing in between them at the start. Nate's your more athletic guy. He was hitting a lot of flips. He did one of them good old-fashioned fake-out dive flips. They chops at that point from Nate Riley. He had a springboard cut-off, which was nice from Sammy Hughes, though, at that point. Nate then tried to hit him blade, but he hurt himself.
Before then, he went for his handspring and Sam kicked his arm.
Was it? Yeah, spring. Yeah, that was it.
It re-aggravated, as we've mentioned, the shoulder injuries. So then when he went for that big strike, it did hurt himself. Yeah.
Then Sam was on top at that point. He hit a variation of like a flapjack. It wasn't like a full-on flapjack, but it was a variation of it. Nate Riley then tried to do another handspring, but due to the injury, he
just collapsed.
Yeah. And then Sam Hughes was smart at this point. He went straight to a Fujiyama armbar. You know, his shoulder's hurting. Let's break his shoulder.
Yeah, smart move. That's the way to do it.
That's the way you need to be. If you've got a target, if your opponent's got a target, use it.
Which Nate Riley wasn't doing. Which obviously could be a downfall. You know, if you know he's got the same injury as you. You know.
There's a thing that people need to like really get a grasp of. It's just like doesn't like if your opponent's got a target and they've said like they're nursing something and you can see that and it's starting to develop, why aren't you targeting it?
Yeah.
Sam did. Nate didn't because he thought he'd take the honourable pass, and it almost didn't work out for him. The way it was, Sam did everything in his power to really aggravate, potentially re-injure Nate Riley. From like you said, from the Fujiwara, it was it wasn't a case of Sam was just trying to win the match. He looked like he was going out there to inflict Nate Riley, which Nate leaned into a little bit more. If you know your opponent's got something and especially it's the same thing, so he knows exactly what he's going.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. It's the same injury. You'd think, would this hurt me if someone put it on me? That's and it's kind of that's the mirror image of it. He eventually kind of got out of it, luckily for him, though. And then he got on the offense, hit a springboard kick. I'm guessing he's calling it the cheeky 619. That seems like what he would call it. Yeah. Sam Hughes then hit out of nowhere a Rainmaker, which I'd love a good Rainmaker. He then started to get a bit cocky. I think he thought he had the match won, but then Nate out of nowhere hit a Pele kick. He then hit a catch cutter on him, and then Sam hit a massive dead eye on the apron, which I thought was game over at that point.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah. But Nate showed his thing, because before this match, which it's technically a spoiler now, Nate hadn't won a match at Kamikaze Pro, which is insane, because he must be on redacted levels of Lawson. Bring him up at the start, bring him up at the end. And then there was a strike battle, and then out of nowhere, Nate's hit a massive Spanish fly, just out of nowhere.
I believe Sam went for the Rainmaker, so he whipped him out, and then as Sam closed the distance back in, he hit that Spanish fly as the counter. It was really good, really good. And spoilers alert here, defending for that move was exactly the preparation that injured Sam's shoulder to begin with. He knew that Nate had the Spanish fly, and he was trying to find ways to counter it, and that's how he hurt his shoulder in training originally. I did mention it all the way back when that match was originally planned. So, yeah, that must have landed quite hard on Sam's shoulder, and he did seem to sell his shoulder as well later in this match.
Yeah, and then, unfortunately, for Sam at least, he hit a massive hidden blade to kind of top off the maneuver, and he picked up the win.
Yeah, he hit the Paul Robinson spinning kick and the hidden blade. Sam, he did re-aggravate his injury, and if he hadn't, I think he probably would have won, because like we said, Nate wasn't going for it to begin with, and if he hadn't stumbled across it, the honourable way probably would have cost him, and I think Sam was the smart one here. But it doesn't matter how it happens, he did re-aggravate his injury. Nate did take advantage. Paul Robinson hit a blade. 1, 2, 3.
I really enjoyed this match as well. I feel like the rivalry side of it, of them actually hating each other, kind of helped it a lot. I read it 3.5. It was a good match. They both, it was worthy of a main event.
And then, Ray, I believe earlier you said that Kieran McQueen wasn't here.
He wasn't, was he? But unfortunately, so Nate was celebrating his win, first win in Kamikaze. Then, firstly, when young Will Stevens comes out with a chair. He was on commentary, but now he's not on commentary. He's got a chair at Nate Riley's back. Edgar Adams then came in to make the save, because Nate and Edgar are really good friends. And then Kieran McQueen pops up out the front door of the camera, if you technically the front door, and then it seems like these three are going to be a trio. And then
it didn't end there.
Carry on.
It didn't end there, because they were then chased up.
So they laid a beat down on Edgar and Nate, but then there was a return of Maximus Okoro, who I'll be honest, his mind, because I haven't seen him wrestle in a bit, his music didn't kick into my mind, and I saw him come out, and I was like, who's that? Because he shaved his head, and I was like, then I heard, oh, Maximus Okoro, because he loves him on the commentary, and then then he made the save, and the three of them kind of left before anything bad was going to happen between Nate, Kieran, and Stevens.
A huge well done to Nate for the win, the first win, and for being a Kamikaze main event where he picks up his first win. That's a huge moment. But what a fascinating end to the show. Two factions kind of forming, battle lines being drawn. I hope if Carl's got any sense, we're going to see a 6-man tag.
It's been announced,
And
hasn't it? I think he announced it at the end. Yeah, it's going to be a 6-man tag. Yeah, he did do something right, but I don't think he announced it. I feel like he announced it at the end because they already accepted that the match was happening.
yeah. Sometimes the wrestlers have to force Carl into making good matches, but this is one I'm really looking forward to because it's not often you see factions in Cami and especially big rivalries. So who knows? Every combination of this is exciting. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been a while since a faction became. I'm thinking on flipping Heroes Next Door. It's the last time I can think them kind of people.
For my time.
Yeah, I think like for Cami Live, there hasn't really been. There was Second to None way back in the day.
Second to None, that's what I was. Yeah.
And then me and Elliot never really tagged together twice in Cami Live. So the Blade didn't really have like a lot of impact in the Cami Live sort of. And yeah, so like obviously with these guys, it's kind of an interesting dynamic between the three as well, because it's just like what you would say probably the top three guys from like 2.0 so far against the new, like the older kind of like original kind of guys that have been around like the Live brand for years.
Yeah, but not. And I mean this with all due respect, but not the most successful guys who've been around the Live brand. And I really feel like that's the basis of this rivalry, because these are the three people of the originals who made me feel a threat, because this roster is getting full. This is a hard card to get on. You want to fight for your spot. And here comes three full of potential, full of energy, high-flying, popular new guys trying to steal the spot from the three sort of grizzled veterans, especially when you see a team with Will Stevens on it. You think about this grizzled veteran who's going to beat somebody down. So, yeah, they've done a smart thing. They've united, and they're trying to drive these new people out. And Kamikaze 2.0, they want to make this show all about 2.0. And we've got an inbuilt story. We've got a natural rivalry. It's really interesting.
I think was in it the point that you made there, it was Alex, was just like it is three guys that aren't more successful. Probably when you think of like originals, you probably think maybe a bit earlier. So like if you were going to take that kind of, it would probably be like me, Chantel, Doris, kind of guys that. But like it's interesting because me, Chantel, Doris, we've had that success elsewhere in Cami, but like these guys have been always like there or thereabouts, not just like getting through. And now these three guys that have come through, Edgar, Nate, and Max, they're all kind of like jumping. To feel like that, you've got to feel like they're jumping ahead. So Kieran, Sam, and Samuel Hughes and Will Stevens, they've all got to think, these guys are trying to get ahead because of this reason. Whereas like now it's just like they're gonna try and give them the wake up call that they think they need, So it is like you said, inbuilt. The story's built in there, and it's just that it'll be interesting to see if there's any further developments to this as well.
Yeah, I mean, rest of 2.0 help the Zero to Hero trio. Will any of the other originals help Will Stevens' faction? It's really interesting to see. But yeah, it is that, are the 2.0 guys trying to leapfrog their spot? Have they paid their dues? And the guys who've been grinding away, who've built Kamikaze Pro Live before 2.0 even existed, they've earned their spot and they don't want to give it up. So yeah, really interesting stuff. And what an ending to the show.
Yeah, and I said with the trio of Kieran McQueen. Kieran McQueen's brought that together because he's tagged with both people before. Obviously, he tags a lot with Will Stevens outside of Kamikaze. And he's tagged with Samuel Hughes inside Kamikaze. I'm sure they were part of the friends next door, whatever they call themselves. That was prior to Connor's arrival. So at least he's brought two people together that he knows, and it could work out. And Zero to Hero have tagged together before.
Do you know what? Sometimes these things, when you think, oh, well, if it's not working for us in this aspect right now. If we like I said earlier with the Dream Chaser, sometimes it is good to have someone like watching your back for you. Sometimes it's good to have three, like two heads are better than one, three are even better. as long as like it works out for them and they don't start getting each other's wet and they're all on the same page, it can work. It works. We've like it's like a proven formula throughout wrestling. You know, sometimes it just takes that those other people around you, and they'll build you up. And I think that's again, it's just one of those things that like Samuel Hughes, Will Stevens, Kieran McQueen, they've all had certain times where at certain points they've been successful. Now these guys are coming in, they're feeling like, oh well, they weren't here when we were coming up, and now they're getting all this like glory and like all the big matches and all that stuff feel like they've been given to them rather than the fact that they've earned it. But it's an interesting way to go. You know, go for the first show of the next year. It's going to be a big.
And how will this shape the dynamic for the rest of the roster? Because what about the rest of us? What about me? What about Luke? If I draw Will Stevens next year, am I going to have to think, where's Kieran McQueen? Where's Samuel Hughes? Do I need somebody watching my back? If I draw Maximus, am I thinking, where's Nate? Where's Edgar? Are they on the outside outnumbering me? So will we start to see other alliances form just so that the numbers are fair everywhere? Because you don't want to be by yourself while everyone else has got people watching their back.
And we will find out more next year for Kamikaze Pro Live. It's obviously going to be Live 41. I don't think they've announced where it's going to be at, venue-wise and so forth now. So we'll check out their socials in the new year. That's the end of the review, so like and subscribe. Their Instagrams and Twitters are, I think it's Luke's Instagram is below. Connors the Mirror Cat is below for some reason. DP decided to go back to the Mirror Cat. I don't know why. I've just realised what a gimp. But your actual other socials will be in the description as well. But yeah, that's goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.
Hashtag 2024.
Carl out.
Hashtag 2024 Carl out. Oh yeah.